Cafe Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Rioch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Victoria, British Columbia in Canada, Melanie Trupp, a seasoned counselor, relationship expert with 25 years of transformative experience, dedicated to empowering women on their journey to authenticity and thriving relationships. So, Melanie, how can meditation play a role in our relationship journey?
Okay. Hi there. Meditation. In relationships, lots of times I'll give one example. We get triggered by certain things. Our partner may say something and we just get triggered. But if we were to practice meditation, I think we would get more attuned to what we're feeling, to more attuned to what's going on inside of ourselves, and we can slow a process down. When we sort of understand and start working with triggers, with the meditation practice, we can slow down and say, hey, what am I reacting to? What's really going on? Lots of times we're more in a reactive state. We're not even aware of ourselves being aware of something going on. We're constantly responding to something. And lots of times I'm saying we're not even responding. We're constantly reacting to something. And we don't have that process of slowing down and saying, you know, how am I responding? So I like that word, my responsibility is your ability to respond. If we don't slow the process down, we don't have that moment to say, hey, if I respond this way, maybe this will happen. But instead I just react and then I repeat the same old thing over and over again. He doesn't do this, I yell, something like that, instead of saying, oh, if I slow it down, what's really going on? And how about if I change? And that comes into a bigger thing, is like, through this whole process, we can start realizing that we are creating our reality. In other words, for every action, there's a reaction, which is another action. So if I respond or react this way, most likely that will come back this way. And then we don't have that part where we understand and slow it down. Hey, I can actually design it to work another way.
Well, what I hear you saying, and I think I agree with you. The meditation, I say the slow down process, because we're reactive, we're overly reactive. And many times we don't listen. We don't even give the other person a chance to finish the sentence, because as soon as they start a sentence, we already think we know what they're going to ask. And then we start answering. Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing just, falls right off the rails.
And it can fall off the rails real fast. So even if we look at that being with another person, the meditation process allows us to slow down and start listening to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Lots of time we're unaware of what's going on in ourselves. We're unaware of what's going on in our body. And, there's an old saying, the sixth sense. Well, honestly, we have more than six senses that are going on. We're just not slowed down enough or tuned enough or aware enough of all these other senses that are giving us information. Mm-hmm. And that's where we start having that little intuitive thing, or I just knew this was going to happen. But when we slow it down enough, it's not so mysterious. It's like these senses are working. We are more attuned to our body. Our body picks up physical senses of what's going on. It can pick up danger before we even think there's danger. There's so much going on. And meditation also allows us to move more deeper, more aware, more conscious, and then we can start working even deeper if we want to the unconscious part.
Yeah, so I can see huge. That. You're talking about our senses, and I can think about each sense having a lightning rod.
Yeah.
And today's world's lightning striking each of those senses simultaneously.
Yeah.
So we don't have time, literally, mentally, or emotionally, to ground anything out. So maybe meditation will, may cut off some of these lightning rods and just let one of them work.
Yeah, and I think most of the time we're not even on the planet. Our bodies are walking around and we're somewhere else in thought. We're not present. And so meditation allows us to become more present. One of the things that meditation is also in many different forms. Extreme sports is actually a form of meditation. Because all you're doing is you're present in that moment. You're so attuned and so focused in one thing. That's why a lot of people start moving towards extreme sports. Why? Because it's the only way that they get that total focus, cleared out of their head, present moment. And I think everybody, there's peace, there's just presence in present moment. And that's what we're seeking, is that complete nothingness, that calmness without that. So meditation comes in many forms. You don't have to sit there, cross-legged. I'm too old to do that now. I've done 500-hour yoga teacher instructor. I mean, it gets hard. You don't have to sit.
All right.
You can walking meditation. You can have my brother-in-law fishes. He just fishes in the stream, fly fishing. And that's the greatest all he's doing is just there, totally present. So get it out of you'd have to sit cross-legged and go, You just have to bring your attention inward, and you just have to just stop, slow down. Simply.
I can see too. I'm looking at your site right now, and I see it says Melanie's your coach, mentor, and biggest cheerleader.
Oh yeah,
because that's also part of it. Because we can meditate, we can slow down, we can think, but we also need someone to help us, not just along, saying that that's the direction, right?
Very much so. And I think when it comes to authenticity, as we grow up, we've sort of maybe learned through our growing up or our parents or whatever may happen that who we are may not feel, as little children, by the way, we make these assumptions, okay? There are assumptions on the most part, is that, well, I might not be good enough because my mother scowled at me and said, you were naughty, you were bad or something. So we bring those things in and we start building our life on this and we start compensating for it. So let's just give an example. If my mother scowled at me at the age of 3 and somehow I took it inside and said, well, I'm just not good enough. That gets buried underneath us. But then we start compensating. So maybe I will prove myself. I'll be better at this. I'll do this. I'll do this. I'll be an overachiever. And it doesn't matter how much you do, you're trying to compensate for this belief that's way down there, since long forgotten, but it plays
even
havoc.
Society today is lined up with that. We think of our parents.
Sure.
Society's putting us in a pot. We just want a winner. We want first place. We want the best.
Yeah. So imagine that someone's coming around and saying, hey, you are, but you've got all this belief system going on. So the cheerleading comes in is to kind of come back. Who you are is more than good enough. I mean, it shouldn't even be a question.
Right.
Who we are is who we are. But we're constantly, I mean, that's just one example. And there's many more, of how we have these belief systems that are deeply ingrained inside that we're not aware, that we're compensating, or we're constantly trying to prove it to be true.
Well, to get to all of the examples, our listeners should find you.
Yes, they should.
How can they do that?
I do have a website, and it's called epictransitions.ca. So it's EPIC, which stands for Empowering Personal Improvement and Change. Transition to simply we're transitioning from one stage to the next as we move through on our personal development.ca, epictransitions.ca.
And everything is personal.
Totally personal.
I'm looking again at your site, and it says transformative self-paced courses.
Yes, I have courses on there.
It's not put in a big melting pot. It's individualized.
Yeah, very much so, as well as I have one-on-one counseling sessions, personal counseling sessions. I have courses that you can take, and it's taking you in deeper so you can sort of come to these awarenesses through the questions that I have, the modules that I have. So you can do online courses, you could do individual courses. Yeah, there's a lot there. And I mostly focus on women in relationships.
Very good. So again, how can everybody find you?
At epictransitions.ca. EPIC Transitions, yeah.
And on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok as well. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. And you can just look for Epic Transitions or my name, Melanie Trupp.
Very good. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and it's Melanie Trupp, and it's Melanie, the last name Trupp. That's epictransitions.ca. Thanks again, Melanie.
Thank you.
Remembering again, the Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Till the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.